important topic about marine litter prevention and also circular economy as one important solution in order to prevent marine litter and also to protect, of course, seascapes and coastal areas. So we want to discuss this topic. As I said, it's a brainstorming session, so we will want to get all of you active and bring in your ideas, your experiences on the topic. Just to check if there are any others coming in, because I think we still not have all of our participants. That's why I'm waiting a little bit. Okay, I think we will start then. So we will discuss about different topics of circular economy and marine litter prevention today. So we will talk about sustainable consumption, sustainable production, also circular economy solutions and inclusive recycling systems and extended producer responsibility schemes, and also on monitoring of waste and marine litter. So this session is co-organized by GIZ. I'm Ellen Gonzilius, working at GIZ, and also other organizations like the WWF, Shura Energy Transition, the Austrian Environment Agency, the Prevent Waste Alliance, and also with inputs from other organizations like UNEP, UN Habitat, and the Philippine Center for Environmental Protection and Sustainable Development. So we will have a few speakers that we wanted to introduce the topic. So we just first want to talk about some relevant international policy processes also on marine litter prevention and circular economy. Of course, the EU has worked a lot also on the transition to a green economy and has international plans like the Circular Economy Action Plan, the Plastic Strategy, etc., with a strong focus also on the international work and the international development work, also taking the focus on the objectives that are included in these EU policies. So Pascal Renaud, also from GIZ, will make a first introduction on these processes, and then we will have maybe some questions or discussion points on this, and then after 15 minutes we will split up into 4 breakout rooms. One is sustainable consumption, moderated by my colleague Lena, and we have Ms. Malu Ramos from the NGO ANCON in Panama, and also Mr. Mikhail Asenov from the Austrian Environment Agency, giving just a few introductory remarks on their activities and their ideas how to facilitate sustainable consumption. And then we want to go into the discussion with you. In the second group, we will have Pascal again, also talking about extended producer responsibility, and Ms. Letabo Poloto from the WWF South Africa, talking about inclusive EPR and recycling systems there. Then we will have the session Sustainable Production with Mr. Dr. Saygin from Turkey, and Mr. June Alvarez. He's president and executive director from the Philippine Center of Environment Protection and Sustainable Development. And then on the fourth session on monitoring, we have Mr. Feng Wang from UNEP, Ms. Nao Takushi from UN Habitat, and Ms. Mira Nagy also from GIZ talking on this topic. So we have assigned you to one of these breakout groups. I hope that everyone will find it interesting. Maybe we couldn't assign everybody to his first priority choice, but I think all discussion groups will be will be interesting. And then we come back for a final 15 minutes to report on these different breakout groups and wrap up also our results of the discussion here. So that's the program for today. And then I would like to invite Pascal already to start with his presentation on the processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ellen. I will try to share my screen and hope it will work. And you can see it. And I'm very happy about this exchange today. I think it will be a good group and discussion. And all I will do at the beginning now is to very briefly wrap up again the challenge of marine litter and plastic pollution and what kind of policies are around at international level and in the EU. So starting again with plastic waste and marine litter, I think this issue of plastic has become famous more and more during the last years because of marine litter, because it's a global issue. And the framing of the issue seems also to be more and more common understanding that plastic does not belong into the environment, neither in the form of air pollution, soil pollution, water pollution, or ocean pollution, that it has effects on the marine and riverine and other kinds of environments, on biodiversity and species, and that plastics represent a big share of marine litter. And the reasons for it are, okay, there's increasing consumption production of plastics around the globe, and at the same time there's a lack of waste management infrastructure, and we're still looking for where could we substitute what kind of plastic products. And as it has become a global issue, we want to move, of course, more and more from a linear economy to a circular economy. We won't go into details now and what is a circular economy, how it can be sustainable or more sustainable than today. I'm sure you're all familiar with it or have some thoughts that we can exchange later on. But in terms of this policy framing at international level, it might be interesting again to remind that there are some sustainable development goals related to it, especially 14.1 on marine litter, but also Sustainable Development Goal 12 on sustainable consumption production, then SDG 11 on sustainable cities, and also SDG 8 on resource efficiency. And interestingly, for the ocean topic, there has been some conferences in 2017, and the follow-up conference was foreseen for last year, but was delayed now to next year because of COVID. Interestingly, also within the UNER, we have this process on the potential negotiation of an international agreement of plastic waste. There have been several resolutions at the last UNER on single-use plastics, on marine litter, on waste management. At that point, there was no consensus to start negotiations, but there are some changes in certain governments and big countries, and which might make negotiations starting next year UNER more possible than before. Also, there has been important changes within the Basel Convention, which put plastic waste in several of their annexes, which makes the trade in plastic waste more difficult. And G7, G20 also started being interested in with German presidencies as well as follow-up presidencies. At regional level, we also have several action plans. One of them is in Southeast Asia with ASEAN, where you have this Bangkok Declaration on Marine Debris from 2019 under Thai presidency. And now just recently launched in May a new action plan on combating marine debris with more detailed measures. You have also similar or other action plans in other regions of the world, in the Mediterranean, in the Caribbean. And of course, in the European Union, there are several policies and actions we will turn to now. So first of all, in January 2018, the European Commission launched a European plastics strategy. It's a kind of comprehensive compilation of different measures on this topic with the idea to move towards a new plastics economy. And the objective to have all kinds of plastic packaging recyclable and reusable by 2030. And you're probably familiar, there are 4 big lines for this strategy. It's about increasing the quality of plastic recycling, design for recyclability, demand for recycled plastics, about collection and sorting, but also about how to prevent marine littering, how to define what is actually biodegradable or compostable, and how to address microplastics. How to increase innovation investment in terms of research and development, but also eco-modulation of extended producer responsibility fees. And of course, how to address this topic at global level, for example, with international cooperation projects like our project, Rethinking Plastics in Southeast Asia, but also about trades in plastics and plastic waste. Moving on, in December 2019, there was a new European Commission with a new European Green Deal, which is a kind of general policy framework to move Europe towards climate neutrality by 2050, and also more resource efficiency, more circular economy, and more economic competitiveness. And under this very vast European Green Deal, as you know, there are different action plans and work streams. One of them is the new Circular Economy Action Plan of March 2020. And actually interesting in this approach is that they focus much more now on design. They call it product policy framework. One of the attempts is to revise the Eco-Design Directive so that it's not only focused on energy-related products and energy efficiency, but also more on circularity. And yeah, it focuses on many different value chains, and one of them is plastics. In plastics, they want to continue with the plastic strategy measures and also look more into recycled content quotas to enhance the market for recycled products, look more into microplastics and also into the question of biodegradability and compostability of plastics. For packaging, there are also certain measures like looking at requirements for packaging so that we can enhance reuse and recycling. And of course, at international level, the EU also wants to lead the efforts for a global agreement on plastics. Very recently, there have been 2 new action plans, one on CO pollution of air, water, and soil. And interestingly, there's a quantitative target to reduce plastic litter by 50% in the sea and microplastics released to the environment by 30%. And there's also a new approach for sustainable blue economy, which makes the link as well to waste management, to plastics, also to fishing gear, fishing for litter, ship waste management, and so on. Very important, however, also for international cooperation and our work is that there are already EU legislation which is internationally showing options where to go and how to improve. One of them is the new EU directive on single-use plastics of 2019, most famous because certain single-use plastics will be banned, but also using different policy instruments like minimum recycled content quota for PET bottles, expanding the scope of extended producer responsibility schemes, awareness raising measures, and so on. And of course, for EPR for packaging, the EU Waste Framework Directive and the Directive on Packaging Waste are very important because they include definitions on EPR, the obligation for all member states to have EPR systems for packaging, at the latest by 2024. And yeah. But also, again, it's not only about waste management, but also looking at the marine side. So there's the EU Marine Strategy Framework Directive, which sets targets for marine litter monitoring. There's one descriptor about this. And also there's a good new revised EU directive on ship waste management, which, for example, sets the idea that ships should not pay for the waste they deliver, but in general, if they come into a port, and they should notify what kind of waste they have. So, Ellen, this is brief overview, and back to you, and have a nice discussion.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. If there are any remarks or questions, maybe we could take one intervention here, but then I think it would be good to go into the breakout rooms. If you want to speak, you can raise your hand under the participants dot on the right hand side, but I don't see any raised hands for the moment. So I think maybe we can also take up the questions in the different breakout groups. I see one from Piotr. Oops. Yeah, are you there?
Yes. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. Thank you. This was very good overview. Very interesting. I was wondering. I was missing in this existing EU legislation the current revision of the waste shipment regulation. So the shipping of waste outside and inside, intra-European, but also maybe in this context very important outside the European Union. I think in the beginning maybe you said about Basel Convention, but it's a bit broader also for the European legislation. If you can share something about this, thank you. Maybe I didn't introduce. I'm from the EEB, European Environmental Bureau, based in Brussels. Thank you.
Pascal, do you want to react on this, or?
I think you raised the point, and of course it's very important how to implement now the new Basel Convention rules also in the European Union. I mean, the rules are effective from January 2021 already. I also see it in the Southeast Asia that governments need to think about what it actually means, because it's quite complicated. It's very technical. What types of plastic waste? What does environmentally sound management of plastic waste mean? I think you're completely right that it's also part of these overviews. And I think within the EU, it's still in elaboration what the exact rules will be. But if you have more information, feel free to to share.
Okay, thank you. So I would say, in order to have enough time also for discussion in the different breakout rooms, we will now move into the different rooms. You will be moved directly, automatically, and find yourself in one of the breakout rooms. Then we have a bit more than 40 minutes for the discussion, and then we come back here to share again the results of the different groups. If you have any technical problems at one point in time, the easiest is to drop out of the call maybe and then come back again, but I hope it will all work out. And so our support, Rahel, will now move us, and we see each other in the breakout rooms. Thanks.
I'm not sure if you can hear us. I'm the technical moderator. We cannot see you and we cannot hear you, so everybody should be back from the session. If you have a technical problem, best will be to log out and log back in, and maybe one of your colleagues can just take over for a moment until you're back.
Yeah, maybe I'll just quickly jump in until Ellen comes. I guess I hope you all had very interesting discussions in the breakout sessions, and the idea is now to very, very briefly gather our main messages. And therefore, I would like to invite, I don't know, Lena, you or your group, to maybe present the key messages from the breakout session that you facilitated.
Yes, thank you. And my group was basically discussing on sustainable consumption and how this can actually how single-use plastics, for example, can be reduced and subsidized, or like basically used with other products. And we had actually a quite interesting group, because we had experiences from different continents, as well as from the company side, from policy side, and some people more focusing on awareness, some on other tools. For example, it was shared that we have different possibilities to also encourage other materials instead of single-use plastics. That obviously awareness raising and education and training is a big step, but that it can also be and should be basically aligned with tools and maybe incentives and regulation parts. And there we discussed some economic instruments such as EPR, which was also part in other groups, some fees, and also the importance of creating markets and really focusing on where you are, where's the market you are working on, how can you basically find green products and develop alternativities, and then have this basically from the company sector aligned with policy and consumer action. So I guess one key takeaway is also that it's not only one sector which is in charge, but it should be basically well aligned with policy regulations, with consumer actions, and with company innovations and product innovations. And we have a mural, so I guess we can also share some further insights later on, but I will leave the other groups also time to present them. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ellen. I don't know if you're back. Otherwise, I will continue with the very brief reporting from Breakout Session 2 on extended producer responsibility. And in this session, I think all participants, which were also quite a wide scope of expertise, agreed that that EPR is a critical policy tool to hold producers accountable for the materials that they bring onto the market. And it is a critical, or it has important elements both from social, economic, and also environmental perspectives. We also looked a little bit into the aspect of to which degree can EPR also contribute to actually preventing waste in the first place. And even though EPR should not be considered as a tool to solve all problems, there were some ideas on how prevention can also be incentivized through EPR mechanisms. And I think one of the main conclusions was also that to establish EPR schemes, collaboration between stakeholders is key, that governments have to be on board, as well as the producers, meaning the private sector, and of course also the informal sector has to be included, which plays a very important role in waste management and is not fully recognized yet. And I think I will keep it very brief and short, and would also like to invite everybody to look into the documentation and mural for further information. The third group was, I don't know, was it your group, Steffen? You were the fourth group, right? Who was the third group facilitator? I think that was Ellen herself, right? So maybe Steffen, you can briefly present from the fourth group first. You're still on mute.
Hi, thank you. Our fourth session was on data and monitoring systems to prevent marine litter. And then there's one common essence, actually, which almost everyone knows. It's rubbish in, rubbish out in terms of data systems, monitoring systems. But we believe we have more than rubbish, which goes into the data systems. So we had three models or three methods being presented: waste flow diagram, the WAP tool, waste facilities tool, and the UN hotspotting method to assess plastic leakage and also wider up the plastic chain in terms of imports and exports and plastic products. And we believe with that data, if you feed that into a monitoring system, there's not rubbish coming out. Actually, it prevents waste management systems to let rubbish going out of waste management systems. So with the data we have, the combined data and the combined approach, we believe we can make waste management systems more robust and prevent marine litter here, as it has been proven that the method and the understanding helps decision makers to make right decisions. Yet we believe that the methods and the structured learning around those is necessary, as there are many more methods and ways of assessing waste management systems being out there. And we believe a structured process of learning is required, and have agreed to come up with a separate meeting and might even call a symposium to assess that better and define the way forward.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Steffen. Harald, can you summarize the discussion of group 3? I think you were part of that group. Or is Ellen back, or anybody else from group 3? Maybe.
Technical moderator here. I just had Ellen on the phone. She is going to log out and log back in because she had a technical problem. So let's hope that she will be quickly here. Here she is arriving. Just give her a second.
Perfect, I can see her. So Ellen, back to you. We're
I'm
summarizing
really sorry.
from the breakout sessions. We have heard the summaries from all groups besides yours. So maybe you can provide a brief summary of your group and then take over facilitation again.
I'm very sorry, because it's funny because Harald was hearing me and has already presented a summary of group 3, but you couldn't hear us apparently. It's we had 2 parallel meetings. I don't know how this worked out. I'm very sorry for this. Okay, so Harald, then you have to go in again. I'm not sure if he's there now or if he is also logged out and came back again.
He should be back in now. I saw that he logged out.
Okay.
Let's see if we can find him back.
Okay, this is really strange. But otherwise, I will start maybe with a short summary of the session. So we discussed about the relevance of the chemical sector and the importance to go towards a net zero pathway, and that it needs, on the one hand, government regulations and incentives to facilitate the production of sustainable products, and also the establishment of circular business models, and then also, of course, at the same time have to work on the consumption side. So we talked about certification and eco-labeling systems, and to create the market and the demand for sustainable products, and also work, of course, on regulations regarding the quality and the content of products. So, for example, have recyclable material targets for products, or economic incentives over EPR systems, or other mechanisms that give a higher price to non-sustainable products and packaging in order to bridge the price gap that is existing at the moment between recycled products, for example, to use for packaging. The prices are still higher than for virgin materials. So we need to have an economic incentive shared, created by government to bridge this. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think that's fine. I think we're running out of 12. I can be heard. I think the main thing to add is the level playing field, and that we need science to help bridge the gap of economic, the problem that economic kill solutions are always going to be primary for businesses.
Okay, thank you very much. So are there any other remarks or questions by any of the participants, or any final comments that someone would like to give? I don't see any hands raised. Any questions, maybe also to one of the groups? Nicole, you want to say something? You're muted. I don't see. Okay. So I hope that everybody can still hear me because I'm still not sure. Okay. Okay, but I think we're.
I think that there
sorry.
was one hand from Opvora Jackson, if I saw it correctly.
Okay.
But
Yes, just speak up. Thank you, Pascal.
Okay. My name is Opvora Jackson from Kenya. We are an environmental group that engaged in plastic waste management, and also we make plastic cables from waste. But my question is, how do you plan to work with small groups doing initiatives in Africa that assist in climate mitigation projects?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last question because your voice is quite low. Can you repeat the last question?
Okay, my question was, how do you work with the small organizations in rural Kenya engaged in plastic waste initiatives, but they're facing challenges accessing machines to scale production?
Okay. So I mean, we can talk, of course, about what GIZ is doing, but other organizations are working differently. I think there are different kinds of projects, of course, supporting business development, for example, for recycling activities, etc. The GIZ is normally working primarily with government agencies and also with partners from the NGO sector, having dialogues also with private sector stakeholders, etc., providing trainings, for example, and doing matchmaking, for example, also from of local small companies with financing institutions, for example, to provide funds for investing in machinery, etc. Then, of course, the first thing is to identify what is a suitable market where the materials can go to. Is it for export? Is there any possibility for local treatment, etc.? So I think, of course, this could be a longer discussion, and we invite you just also to stay in contact maybe with the other participants or come back to us for further exchange on this topic, and give us any ideas and questions also how to go into further collaboration. So we are already at the end actually, but we have one graphic reporter that has gone into the different sessions and made a little picture. So I invite Mara here to share her screen on what she has prepared when listening to our discussion.
Bringing it up right away. Oh, there it is.
Aha, okay, nice. So that is a nice picture showing the different interconnectedness, I would say. Do you want to say anything, Mara, on this, or should we just have a look
Yeah,
ourselves?
I tried to capture the main points around this topic. I'll finish it up a little bit with the notes in Mural. So it will be totally ready in, let's say, 30 minutes.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Looks very fine. Very nice. Good. Then I think there is nothing else to say. Then thank all of you for your inputs, for your participation, and sorry for the technical hiccups. I didn't know that I was talking to myself all the time in the end session. So thank you very much. I hope that we will stay in contact and work together further on establishing circular economy and sustainable plastic value chains. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.
Okay.
In the end, Ellen,
So
it was you and me stuck in one room and everyone else was elsewhere.